If you're anything like me, you just want to know what the hell you need to do so you can crack on and actually start making things work. And so in this video, it's exactly what we're going to run through. I'm going to run you through some of the biggest challenges I see coaches make and what you need to do about it. I'm also very aware that over the past couple of years in the coaching industry, you've been fed a load of lies and been beaten around the bush in terms of what you need to do and this magical system. I'm just going to tell you black and white in this video what you need to be doing, okay? Firstly, posting content alone. This is not going to grow your business unless you are incredibly good at content, and 99% of coaches are not. And so we need to be a little bit more strategical in actually getting people through the door with our business. But firstly, when it comes to posting content alone, you're in this hamster wheel of chasing views and chasing likes, which is great for your ego for about 10 minutes, but it's not great for your bank account. It's not great for getting clients through the door, because what happens is let's say you make a Instagram video and it gets 10,000 views or 20,000 views or 50,000 views. Amazing. And then 24 hours later, it's just gone. That video is then in the ether of the internet, never to be seen ever again. And then essentially you're starting at ground zero again. So for example, let's say you get 1,000 views on a video on average, and then you manage to crack 50,000 views on this video. Again, 24 hours, you've got all this attention, all these eyeballs, which is great. But then again, it just drops off. And the next day you literally back to where you are. And so you're trying to climb down. And then again, if like in 2 days later, you manage to crack 50,000 views again, you'll come back down again. It's like the chances of us actually making business work just from that is slim, because one, views don't mean anything if you can't convert those eyeballs and those views into a marketing system and a marketing funnel where you can nurture those people, because they'll see your content and then they're gone. You may get a few followers from it, but that's not going to grow your business, right? Not especially up to where the level you want it to be. And then secondly as well is that whenever you don't have something in place to move people into your marketing funnel, again, you're just starting from ground zero when it comes to leads. That's why most coaches that struggle to grow their business, literally every single month, they don't track their leads. If they do track their leads, they're not actually following up with them. If they do follow up with them, which is a very small percentage of coaches, they only follow up with them once, and then they feel like they're being pushed in, feels salesy. So they see all these barriers to entry to actually getting a client or actually growing the business. And if we're not even moving these eyeballs and leads into a place to nurture them and then to follow up with them and then to give offers to them, we're failing at the first hurdle, essentially, if we're just chasing views. Because the whole point of your content is to start generating conversations and start generating leads. And if you're just focused on views, then the conversations aren't happening and the leads aren't happening. The two very things that are going to grow your business. And so it's really important to be aware that content, particularly short form content, is just kind of like the shop window of your business. And so if you get 50,000 views on a piece of content, that's like 50,000 people walking past your shop front and looking through the window. And then you're sat inside the shop being like, oh, 50,000 people. And then within 10 minutes, those 50,000 people just move across into the next shop, into the next, and just keep walking down the street. And then you're down the shop door being like, what? Whoa, where are you going? Where are you going? You were just looking in my shop. And then you're like, shit, we're going to have to get more. How do we get 50,000 people in front of the shop again? You're back to zero, right? Whereas what you need is a system in place that when you've got 50,000 people in front of your shop window, you can then be in the front door. Guys, how's it going? Come and have a look at what we've got here. This is for you. Yeah, you've got that prop. We solve that problem. Get yourself in here. Then when they're in the shop, then you move them across into the till, then you take pay, and then you become a client. Whereas if we're chasing views, that's literally just them out of the shop front window. And you're like, oh, buzzing, look how many people are outside the shop. Gone. Business hasn't grown. Then you're thinking, why is this not working? Why am I not getting clients? I'm being consistent. I've got 50,000 views. And just as a side note, this is all under the premise that we can actually get 50,000 views on Instagram. Chances of that happening, do you know what I mean? Like, chances of that happening in itself is a difficult thing to do in this day and age. And then if you do get them, there's nothing in place to, you see where we're going with this here. So that is a major problem with it. And so I mean, to imagine that content sits, let's say you've got a timeline, right? You've got a stranger, and then you've got a client, the stranger becoming a client. And then the middle kind of, I see it as that content sits here. Yeah. You've got to know this stranger, what they want, what they need, and then you've got to learn about them. And then you've got to actually, before you even make content, be able to articulate their problems, be able to talk to them in a way that actually wants them to listen to you. That's when you make content. Yeah. So most coaches can't even do this. Most coaches don't even know who they're talking about. And if they do know who they're talking about, they don't even know how to write content to actually speak to that person. So that even there, we need to do work. But let's say we can do that and we're writing that content. From that point, most coaches don't have that second half, which is where marketing actually starts. Content is marketing, but content is just advertising, essentially. Content is just advertising, essentially. And so Shelby obviously has something to say about this as well. Content is just advertising. Content is a shop window to your marketing system. Most coaches do not have a marketing system. They may put a lead magnet out every here and there, but again, it doesn't push people to moving them closer to buying to you. So essentially, this is what I do in the growth room. I have my own systems and processes in place that I've built from my own experience of one, working at a high level in retail, in an actual corporation, from my own successful coaching business, and working in a mentorship before for 4 years. I've collated all that, built my own sort of signature ways of doing all of this. But every mentor is doing the same thing. They're helping you build a marketing system. And it's up to you to decide which mentor you're gelling with the most. You'll probably get success. Well, it depends on you and you doing the work, but you'll probably get success with, I would say, every mentor you work with, but most of them that are actually helping you build a marketing system, you will get success with them, because that's all of us are trying to do. We're helping you stop just making content and actually build the thing that builds your clients in, which is getting them into a place where you collect their information, you nurture them through a certain process, and then from there you present offers, and then from there you get clients. That's how it works. That is arguably the part that actually gets you clients, whereas most coaches aren't even doing that. And again, most coaches aren't even knowing who they're. Most coaches are just posting content. They became a coach and went, right, need to get clients. Let's start talking about protein and training tips. It's like, no, it's like, no, there's more, way more to it than that. Way more. Selling to people is just human psychology. It's human psychology. It's getting people's attention. It's shifting their beliefs. It's making them believe and trust that you're the person to help them get there. So on and so forth. Whereas just posting content, most coaches do that. They'll do their level 3 and then they'll just start posting content. There's more to it than that, essentially. But the point I'm trying to make here is that content alone is not the thing that's going to get you clients, especially short form content, especially now in the age of AI. Personal branding, trust is the biggest currency right now. And short form content is been and gone in the blink of an eye. And to build trust over a 30-second long reel, which arguably you may only get 10 seconds worth of watching, it's really just not going to cut it. So the thing that I'm building in the growth room now is, you've probably heard of a funnel, right? A funnel is where people go through. You'll get your attention with the content, you put them into a landing page, and the landing page will get them into a call, and the call will get them into a client. The problem with that is that as soon as someone goes through it, every tier of that funnel, people leak out of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you get attention with content, let's say 1,000 people, but then only 100 of them will go on a landing page, and then only 5 of those will be ready to buy, and then only 2 of those 5 will click the link, and then out of 2 of those, you'll have 1 call turn up, and then you know what I mean? Like 1,000 people turns into 1 opportunity. Like, it's not very efficient at all. Plus, it's based on a lot of volume, which, as we've already said, like, to get a lot of volume in Instagram now is hard. So what I'm doing, the marketing system I'm building out here is essentially a conversion web. So it's keeping people locked into your marketing system. So you keep nurturing and nurturing and nurturing and nurturing until they become a client, as opposed to them going through a funnel, this lead, and then they go, never to be seen again. They go cold, or another coach gets them up. So this here, what I'm building now is with my coaches, is it's essentially a system that keeps them locked in. So you're constantly nurturing them. So when you get a lead in, it builds, another lead builds, another lead builds, and it compounds. It compounds your leads. So you're collecting leads and not just letting them slip through and go. But I digress. Point of this video is, content alone is not the thing that's going to get you where you need to be. You need to actually start building systems in place to start generating leads and start generating clients. So I hope that's helped. If you are interested in working with me, there's a description below how to do that. But hope you're having a fantastic day regardless.